I'm a black, Latinx, transgender woman.
That's right.
As we move further into 2020, I believe that as a transgender woman of color, witnessing horrific acts of violence against our community, it's time to make a stand and acknowledge this violence as irrefutably unacceptable. This violence is coming disproportionately towards the trans community in a way that's making navigating society and accessing vital resources such as healthcare and education almost impossible. I'm gonna read the names of the women that have been murdered this year and the trans men. Justin Parker, 25.
Justin, say the name.
Was fatally shot in McAlester, Oklahoma, early on New Year's Day. Nelisa Luciana Ruiz was fatally shot in Toa Baja, Puerto Rico on February 24th. Yampi Mendez Aracho, 19, was killed in Moca, Puerto Rico on March 5th. Monica Diamond, 34, a black transgender woman, was killed in Charlotte, North Carolina on March 18th. Lexi, 33, a transgender woman, was killed in Harlem, New York on March 28th. Johanna Metzger, a transgender woman, was killed in Baltimore, Maryland on April 11th. Serena Angelique Velasquez Ramos, 32, was killed in Puerto Rico on April 21st. Leila Pelez Sanchez, 21, was killed in Puerto Rico April 21st. Sanchez was killed alongside Serena Angelique Velasquez Ramos. Penelope Diaz Ramirez, a transgender woman, was killed in Puerto Rico on April 13th.
What the fuck?
Nina Pop, a black transgender woman, was killed in Sykeston, Missouri on May 3rd. Hele J. O'Regan, 20, a transgender woman, was killed in San Antonio, Texas on May 6th. Tony McDade, a black transgender man, was killed in Tallahassee, Florida on May 27th by the police. Dominique Remy Fels, a black transgender woman, was killed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on June 9th. This one fucked me up because she was found with her legs dismembered and she was thrown in a suitcase in the river in Philadelphia. Rhea Milton, a 25-year-old black transgender woman, was killed in Liberty Township, Ohio on June 9th. Jane Thompson, a 33-year-old white transgender woman, was killed in Mesa County, Colorado on May 9th. T.T. Gully, a homeless black transgender woman, was found hanged from a tree on May 27th in Rocky Butt Park near a homeless encampment. Not only should we demand justice for the lives lost due to transphobic violence, but we must introduce legislation that protects us and our rights.
Yeah.
I created a petition in hopes of adopting a bill called the LGBTQ+ Protections Act. The idea behind this initiative is as follows. 1. All acts of violence against lesbian, gay, bi, trans, and queer men and women will be federally considered hate crimes and can be punishable by law under local hate crime statutes.
It's fucking crazy that that's not a law.
This also should consider hate crimes committed on the basis of perceived race, color, religion, national origin, ethnicity, or gender of any person. As it stands, there are laws that reflect this, but it must be proven that the motivation was an act of hate due to race, color, religion, national origin, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or gender. Adopting this bill would effectively make all acts of violence unconditional hate crimes. Let's be honest, violence is hate and must be considered as such under federal law. The Supreme Court, number 2, the Supreme Court just declared that workers cannot be fired for being gay or transgender. Even though this is a good step in the right direction, it's not enough. We must extend these protections in healthcare, education, housing, rehabilitation services, and any other resources that people in society need to have access to in order to exercise their constitutional right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as declared by the United States Declaration of Independence. And number 3, we must allocate resources to develop LGBTQ+ protection centers, which would provide access to resources such as housing, lawyers and legal teams, healthcare and emergency medical services, mental health services, employment, social justice organizations, and any other viable community resources to enhance the quality of life for those who are most vulnerable in our society. It is my hope that this petition will circulate nationwide and receive millions of signatures and land in the hands of the House of Representatives, particularly Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, Qween Amor, and the rest of the revolutionary progressive candidates that have inspired hope across this nation and have the power and knowledge to draft the LGBTQ+ Protections Act and introduce it into legislation so that we can create a better tomorrow for our society. Things have to change, and this message starts with us. This change starts with us. Please pass this message around to your communities. Share this petition. You can find it at change.org/LGBTQ Protections Act.
Say it again.
Change.org/LGBTQ Protections Act. We need legislation that are going to protect us. Just in Louisiana the other day, an 18-year-old white queer man was brutally stabbed in the hospital, and they're looking at this as if it's not a hate crime. I'm sorry, but when we're experiencing violence at a disproportionate rate in our community, violence against our community must be considered unconditional hate crimes no matter what. If you're a black man and you're assaulted, that's a fucking hate crime. If you're a black woman and you're assaulted, that's a hate crime. If you're a transgender woman and you're assaulted, that's a hate crime. We should not have to prove that the intent was hate, because at the end of the day, violence is hate no matter what.
Say it again. Say it again.
Violence is hate no matter what, and it needs to be treated as such. I should not have to live in fear of my life every day when I walk out my house as a transgender woman.
Hello.
I should not have to worry if I'm gonna come home or not. I should not have to worry about. I call my mother every day and let her know that I'm leaving. She lives in Florida, there's nothing to know, but I know that I want to hear my mother's voice in case I may never have the chance to talk to her again.
Y'all hear this? Are you guys listening to her? Are you listening to her?
It's the people listening to her.
Fucking scary. Imagine having to do that. Imagine having to do that.
When I see trans men and women being murdered in the streets and their cases are left open, I see myself. I think about what I want my image to look like in the papers if in fact I'm found dead or murdered or lynched hanging from a tree. These are things that I think about consciously every day of my life. This is something that we all think about, whether we're aware of it or not, that we cannot for 1 second remove from our minds of what we can do to remain safe. That someone following us home, someone trailing us in their car. Let me tell you, I'm no stranger to violence. I've been beaten, I've been raped, I've been assaulted, I've been dragged in these streets, and through no fault of my own, just because I exist. And this is something that I have to live with every day. Trauma that I have to cope with. Trauma that I have to experience. And I know that the closer that I get to my womanhood and my transition, the closer I get to being murdered. And that is terrifying. That recognizing that the world hates women. And the world does not see women like me as real. That we deserve, somehow we deserve what we get because of what we chose.
No.
I'm sorry, but I deserve to live without fear. We must earn the respect of future generations. We must earn the respect of future generations. reparations.